There comes a time in every person's life when holding on begins to hurt more than letting go. We cling to people, memories, and identities long after they've stopped serving us, not because they still have value, but because we're afraid of what's left when we release them. But what if the weight you're carrying isn't a sign of strength, but a delay in your healing? Letting go isn't about forgetting. It's not about pretending it never happened. It's about choosing yourself over your history. It's about having the courage to move forward, even if your hands are shaking, even if your voice trembles, even if the past still whispers at night. This is not a speech about pretending to be okay. This is about becoming someone who is okay because they chose truth over illusion, peace over pride, and growth over comfort. So today we're going to talk about what it really means to let go, not from a place of weakness, but from power, clarity, and finally, freedom. Letting go is not weakness, it's maturity. For far too long, we've confused endurance with wisdom. We've convinced ourselves that the longer we hold on, the more loyal, strong, or virtuous we appear. But strength without direction becomes self-sabotage. Loyalty without discernment becomes a cage. And endurance, when rooted in fear, turns into quiet self-destruction disguised as devotion. Letting go is not weakness. It is one of the most demanding and mature decisions a person can make. Because letting go doesn't happen in the moment you say, "I'm done." It happens when you walk away from what once defined you, a relationship, an expectation, a version of yourself that you outgrew but didn't want to disappoint. Letting go is about choosing long-term peace over short-term comfort. And very often, it is not dramatic. It's silent. It's the inner shift where you stop explaining, stop begging, stop trying to convince people to see your worth. There's a false sense of control we develop when we hold on. We think our grip is what's holding it all together. The relationship, the family, the dream. We're not ready to evolve. But what we're really doing is holding on to the illusion that we're needed in places that no longer respect our presence. We're holding on to the past because we haven't imagined a future that inspires us more. But maturity whispers what ego cannot hear, that not everything you lose is a loss, that the exit of certain people from your life is not abandonment but alignment, that when a chapter ends, it's not a failure, it's space being made for something truer. Strong people don't just fight battles, they know when to lay down the sword. They know when staying is no longer brave but damaging. They know when the highest act of love is release for themselves and for the other. And yet, letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you start caring differently. It means you stop pouring your time and energy into places where your love has turned into labor and your peace has turned into performance. It means you trust that real connections don't need to be chased, manipulated, or controlled. You see, there's a quiet power in walking away, not because you're angry, but because you're finally clear. There's a dignity in saying, "This no longer fits where I'm going." You stop needing closure from them because you've given it to yourself. You stop waiting for an apology because you've stopped seeking validation from the place that broke you. Letting go, then, is not a retreat. It's a return to your values, your boundaries, your clarity. And yes, it hurts. It burns. But on the other side of that burn is your rebirth. Pain clings when purpose is missing. One of the most overlooked reasons we struggle to let go of pain is because we haven't yet found a reason compelling enough to move forward. When the future is undefined, the past becomes magnetic. It pulls us back, not because it's better, but because it's familiar. And in the absence of clear purpose, even suffering can start to feel like home. People don't cling to pain because they enjoy it. They cling because somewhere deep inside, that pain has become part of their identity. It gives shape to the emptiness. It becomes the story they tell themselves to explain why things didn't work out. And as strange as it may sound, when people don't know who they are beyond the betrayal, the loss, or the trauma, they hold on to the very thing that broke them just to feel like they still exist. Purpose breaks that cycle. Not overnight, not easily, but steadily. It reclaims the energy that's been trapped in resentment. It redirects the focus from what was taken to what's possible. The moment you begin to move toward something meaningful, even if it's messy, even if it's unclear, is the moment the pain begins to lose its power over you. You see, pain is loud when the soul is quiet. And in the silence of a directionless life, every echo from the past sounds like a warning. You start overthinking every mistake, every word left unsaid, every door that closed. But when you find a purpose that demands your attention, the volume of the past begins to fade, not because the pain wasn't real, but because you've found something more urgent, something more worthy of your time. And purpose doesn't always look like some grand mission. Sometimes it's as simple as healing enough to be present. It's deciding that your peace is no longer up for negotiation. It's waking up and saying, I may not be where I want to be, but I refuse to stay where I've been. That shift, that small, private declaration is the beginning of everything. You cannot fully heal while staying still in the shadow of what hurt you. You have to move, even if it's just a few steps, even if you're still bleeding. Because healing is not the absence of pain, it's the presence of purpose greater than the pain. And when you start to live for something again, a dream, a vision, even just your own peace, the past no longer gets to hold you hostage. Letting go, then, isn't just about release. It's about redirection. It's about stepping into the unknown with trembling hands but a steady heart, knowing that what lies ahead has the power to reframe everything behind you. And when you find that purpose, truly find it, the pain that once defined you becomes the soil for your transformation. Forgiveness is not approval, it's liberation, but is a misunderstanding that has kept countless people trapped in cycles of resentment and quiet suffering. The belief that to forgive is to excuse, that letting go of the bitterness means saying what happened was acceptable. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Forgiveness is not a permission slip for bad behavior. It is not a dismissal of pain. It is not a handshake with the one who hurt you. Forgiveness is for you, for your future, your freedom, and your healing. When you hold on to anger long enough, it becomes less about the event and more about your identity. The grudge becomes a ritual. The replaying of what they did becomes your morning coffee. You relive it, not because you want to, but because the wound was never closed, only covered. But here's the truth. You don't heal by proving a point. You heal by choosing peace over performance. And peace doesn't mean forgetting. It means refusing to bleed every time you remember. Forgiveness is not about reconciliation. That's a different conversation. You can forgive someone and never allow them back into your life. You can forgive and still maintain boundaries. Because forgiveness is not about rebuilding, it's about releasing. It's about breaking the emotional bond that pain forged between you and the person who caused it. As long as you hold that resentment, they live in your mind rent-free, dictating your emotions, your trust, even your self-worth. You end up punishing yourself for what someone else did. That's the cruel irony. You think holding on is protecting you, but it's actually imprisoning you. You carry the weight of what they did into new relationships, new opportunities, and new days that deserve better from you. You end up reacting to new people based on old pain. That's not safety. That's self-sabotage disguised as defense. And let's be honest, forgiveness is not instant. It's a process. Some days you'll feel strong and unbothered. Other days, the memory hits like it just happened. That doesn't mean you failed. That means you're human. What matters is that you're choosing to not stay stuck, that you're refusing to let bitterness shape your becoming. To forgive is to say, I will no longer give you the power to shape my heart. It's to reclaim your emotions from the grip of what broke you. It's to walk away from the burning building, not because the fire wasn't real, but because you're done inhaling the smoke. So no, forgiveness isn't saying they were right. It's saying you deserve to be free. And in that freedom, you stop repeating the past, you stop internalizing the betrayal, and you stop waiting for closure from the people who never had the capacity to offer it. Forgiveness, then, is not surrender. It is self-respect. It is the quiet, courageous act of choosing yourself, your peace, your clarity, your life, over a wound that was never yours to carry forever. What you don't release repeats. Life has a way of circling back to teach the same lessons until we finally listen. Not because it wants to punish us, but because unresolved pain echoes, unfinished emotional business lingers, and whatever we refuse to release ends up repeating itself in patterns we can't quite explain. You see it in relationships that look different on the surface but feel eerily familiar. You think this time is different, only to realize months later you're back in the same emotional trap, walking on eggshells, shrinking yourself, chasing love that hurts. That isn't just coincidence. That's unhealed wounds attracting what they know. When we don't confront and release what damaged us, we start to normalize dysfunction. We begin to confuse chaos with passion, control with care, silence with peace, and so we recreate the very pain we say we're desperate to escape, not because we want it, but because it's familiar. The human mind craves familiarity, even if it comes wrapped in suffering. The truth is, your past will keep showing up until you stop running from it and start learning from it. The people, the failures, the betrayals, they're mirrors. And until you face them and extract the lesson, you'll stay trapped in the loop. Letting go is how you break that cycle. It's not just an emotional release, it's a declaration. This pattern ends with me. But letting go isn't a switch you flip. It's a choice you make every day, sometimes every hour. It's the discipline to not respond the same way, to not chase the same validation, to not silence your intuition just to keep temporary peace. It's the decision to finally see the red flags for what they are, not for what you hope they'll become. People think letting go is passive, that it means giving up, but it's the opposite. It's the most active kind of healing, because you are choosing to stop participating in your own suffering. You are deciding that your future matters more than your history, that you are no longer available for the same story with different characters. And here's something that's hard to admit. Sometimes we repeat the pain because a part of us still wants to fix what broke us. We go back, not to relive the wound, but to rewrite the ending. But healing doesn't come from rewriting their chapter. It comes from writing a new one for yourself. What you don't release repeats. In your habits, your choices, your silence, your compromise, the universe isn't trying to torment you. It's trying to grow you. It's trying to shake you awake and say, you deserve better, but first you have to believe that. So if you're tired of the loop, the same heartbreak, the same disappointment, the same self-doubt, don't just ask, why does this keep happening? Ask, what am I still holding on to that invites it? The moment you become unwilling to carry it forward is the moment the cycle ends. Letting go makes room for the right battles. Life is full of battles. Some are necessary, some are noble, but many, far too many, are simply distractions. And the longer you carry what you were never meant to hold, the less strength you have for the fights that truly matter. That's the hidden cost of not letting go. It drains your energy, your attention, and your soul, leaving you too exhausted to show up where you're truly needed. You weren't built to argue with every voice that misunderstands you. You weren't born to explain your worth to people who only see your reflection through the lens of their own limitations. And yet, that's where we waste so much of our emotional bandwidth, trying to win battles that don't deserve our effort, holding on to old narratives, defending our past, proving we were right. But the truth is, the most important fights in your life won't be about proving others wrong. They'll be about proving to yourself that you are worth more than the chaos you've been tolerating. Letting go isn't retreat. It's strategy. It's wisdom. It's finally understanding that not every mountain is yours to climb and not every person is yours to fix. There's something powerful about knowing where to place your fight and where to walk away, because when you release what no longer aligns with your values, your time, and your emotional well-being, you make space for the things that do. And that space is where your real life begins to take shape. Letting go creates capacity, emotional, mental, even spiritual. It frees you from the weight of people who only showed up for the version of you that needed saving. It opens you to new relationships that don't feed off your wounds but respect your boundaries. It gives you room to pursue goals you buried under guilt, fear, or old commitments that were never truly yours. We romanticize struggle far too often. We wear burnout like a badge of honor. But sometimes the most heroic thing you can do is simply walk away, not out of bitterness, but because you've finally learned to value your peace. Because you've realized that the constant battle to hold on to what's breaking you isn't strength, it's delay. When you learn to let go, you begin to choose your battles with purpose. You no longer fight for attention, for closure, for understanding from people who refuse to listen. Instead, you fight for your growth. You fight for your inner stillness. You fight to protect the version of you that's trying to emerge from the ashes of everything you once tolerated. So ask yourself, are you fighting to be free, or are you fighting to stay connected to something that's already ended? The difference is everything. Letting go doesn't make you weak, it makes you wise. It's the moment you stop surviving the wrong battles and start living the right life